Warning, may contain profanity, heavy ethanol use, Maui Brewing, Karbach, Martin House, Avery, or peanuts. I am Woodstock.
Or just say, hey, let me go piss real quick, or something like that.
All right, cool.
Let me go drain the main vein.
Right.
Let me go tickle that lizard.
Let me go jerk off in the bathroom.
Let me
Go
go
squeeze the grease off the chorizo.
Yeah, that, exactly. Exactly. And that's how the episode starts.
And that's how it starts.
So
Welcome
what about the sound,
to...
The sound sounds good over here?
I think it sounds good. You hearing it all right?
Sounds fine to me.
You hearing it all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody comfortable? You got an extra pad on your seat, right? Okay, that makes it way more comfortable for your time. So it's 8:55. What do we want to pull up here? Do we want to do like, what are we drinking right now? Maui Brewing? Maui Brewing. Pull that shit up.
Yeah, creme brulee imperial milk stout, specifically.
Guys, this is B.A.E. series number 3, I believe. We have a 903. We've got a Maui Brewing. And this will be our first one where it's just a general beer review.
That's right.
We are in the beautiful studio, the Texan. And it's the first B.A.E. where we're going to have a bunch of badass beers, and most of them are barrel-aged. Not all of them.
Yeah, I must say, too, Jace, you did a pretty good job in here, man.
Thanks,
this
man.
Looks way better than the garbage it was before.
It was, the inside looked like the outside, and now that's not the case.
Yeah. Yeah, it still looks like a meth lab on the outside, but the inside, like a coke lab.
Well, today we are going to drink a shitload of beers. We all brought a few in, but I think we're going to start it off with one that actually has traveled quite a bit. In fact, I picked this up after talking to our good friend, the brewmaster over at Maui Brewing Company, and I picked up, it's the Maui Brewing Limited Release Creme Brulee Imperial Mixed Milk Stout, bourbon barrel aged with caramel, vanilla, and lactose. And I actually put this in my suitcase, flew it back from Hawaii back to Texas. Wanted to get it to my boy Joe because he's got just a fantastic beer selection, better than I've probably ever seen, and ended up forgetting to get it to him. It was in my trailer when I did my whole U.S. tour. And where was it? Was it Maine that I dropped it off to you?
It was in Colorado.
Colorado.
When we stopped by Longmont, yeah.
And then I dropped that off to Sean. Sean brought it down to Texas for my boy Joe, and you've been holding on to it till now.
Yeah, it's pretty funny too because when you gave it to me, we were just in the process of moving out of our house, and because that was in early June, and so we ended up clearing everything out of the house, like getting rid of pretty much all of our furniture, all of our earthly possessions, and one of the last things that left sitting on the counter was this beer, because I didn't want to put it in the car or in the truck because it was hot as hell at the time. I didn't want it to get too warm, and so like the very last thing as we left the house was I grabbed this beer and I put it in like the back seat, and then we stayed with some friends for a couple of days, and I brought it into the house and left it on the counter, like right next to where my keys were. And then the first thing I did when we left to drive down to Texas was I grabbed this one freaking beer that just got hauled all over Colorado and like gave it to Joe, like got down on one knee and held it up over my head and was like, I have brought this gift for you. And that's this.
Well, here we are, baby. And this is...
Get that mic right in your face, Joe.
This is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing stuff. So let me just read you this here. We got crafted with passion from the heart of paradise. We are an innovative and independent brewery. Welcome to the Ohana. Ow!
All right, give me that. I'll bust it open.
Yeah, you're gonna need a knife. You're gonna need a knife on that first.
Oh, here we go. Joe came prepared.
Jace, did you try that beer at all while you were in, or they didn't?
They didn't have
only
it on
in bottle,
tap.
huh?
It was a special release, so the only way I could buy it was as a bomber like this. It's all wax sealed. How the?
Takes a pretty long time.
We have a huge lineup today, guys.
Yeah.
Which one are you most excited for?
You know, the last time we had Columbiana was on 4th of July. If you recall, me, you, and Chuck circled up around Echo Lake, Maine, and I busted that, and I had that since I got it from Joe in November of last year.
I wasn't there. I
Yeah.
left early.
In Maine? You drank Columbiana with me, trust me.
In Maine?
Yeah, I brought it
in Maine.
4th of July in Maine.
I don't think I had any, man.
Yeah, you did. It was a long day.
We had a really long week.
We had a long day, but yeah, I remember because I grabbed you and Chuck specifically.
Oh, okay. I do. Out by the fire?
Yeah, by the fire, and I grabbed it, and I was like, guys, we may never have this beer again.
and
here
then
we
Joe
are.
comes and cleans out the whole entire city of Houston.
Yep.
So yeah, Colombiana, we're gonna save till last because I think we're gonna be hard pressed to find a better beer. But we can suck Martin House's dick later when we get to that. For now, we're on Maui, and we're just doing a little snifters here, little 3-ounce pours. All right, boys, cheers.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Here's to drinking beer for work.
Well, that's damn delicious. Creme brulee is how they describe it, man. It's pretty sweet. But what's the ABV, Joe?
That's what I'm looking for right now.
What was it, 13?
So it's not as thick as I personally like my beers, but the fact that we've hauled this thing around across the whole entire United States. And
It's an 11-4.
11-4.
So pretty solid.
Oh yeah, that's right there.
Very sweet. Very creamy for sure, but not too heavy. So, great way to start it off for sure.
Well, it does have, or it does not have, I should say, coconut, which apparently Maui Brewing claims they were the first one that ever did a coconut porter.
Well, with a name like Maui Brewing, they can say that shit, and who's going to challenge them, you know? Like,
Exactly.
well, we're from Maui, so we have coconuts. But it
looked
might also be
up.
true. Shit, I don't know.
I tried finding it online. I couldn't find anything definitive, so I'm just going to say, yep, Maui Brewing.
If
first
they're
ever.
claiming it and no one else is opposing that
Yeah.
statement, then I just call it true.
I'd say they make a bigger deal about it. Throw that out on a flyer or something, because Sean and I just earlier today were talking about how some of our favorite beers are coconut porters.
Yeah, for the most part, I think. It's something, I don't know what it is. I mean, I like all types of beer, but something about porters and stouts, if they're the right type, I can drink that shit year round. I've had many a time that Joe and I have gotten together and it's 115 degrees in Houston and we're drinking stouts and shit like that. And I think it's just because the flavor to me is just so complex. I mean, there's lots of really good beers out there, lots of really good IPAs and Kolsch's and everything else, but like there's porters and stouts, you can do so much, and they're all in the same family, but they don't, I mean, they're so far across the spectrum that I feel like, granted, it's also like not always, but it's like drinking dessert, and they can generally have the most alcohol in them, which is nice because you can drink one and just feel fucking fantastic, you know?
Yeah, definitely the coconut porter from Maui is a solid beer. I think one of you two guys introduced it to me first. I think Jace, you might have said it was one of your favorite all-time porters, and so kind of got me looking that direction. Found them at my local Specs on Pearland, and really easy to drink. Doesn't matter the temperature. I mean, just really tasty stuff. So decent ABV, but once you start getting into the bourbon barrel and you start aging these beers that we love, and you start knocking that ABV up out the roof.
Yep.
That's when I fell in love with what ended up being what we all love here is the barrel aged everything group, and so we do search that stuff out.
Well, the ABV definitely goes up, and that's a plus because who doesn't like to get fucked up? But just the flavor alone, you take it something that's, and it's the same with the scotches, the same with lots of different alcohols. Throw that in that cask, it's going to condition it to just take off all the edges and just leave a completely different profile. I really like buying the non-barrel aged and the barrel aged at the exact same variety and doing a side-by-side, and 100% of the time it's like, I mean, you might be paying double, but the value as far as just pure taste, it's there, man. I'd rather drink less beer but drink more of something that's got an amazing taste to it.
Well, let me add on to that. For me, it's not just ABV, but as a kid coming up from Texas, I mean, we just got Keystone. We got the cheapest beer. We got the keg, and we just played beer pong with the crappiest beer and the cheapest and the lightest beer that we could find. And that's just what our parties were. But when you start realizing you're drinking such a low ABV, and I mean, you're peeing everything that you're drinking, and that's like, what is that? I mean, it takes you till 1 a.m. to finally start feeling a little something. I mean, why not skip all the peeing and all the crap and just get to the point?
Shotgunning the beer is fun, but if you can get as drunk off a nice little 3-ounce snifter and have it taste like just the fucking nectar of the gods, I'd go for the latter.
Well, yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. When we're going to float the river, I'm not taking this kind of stuff out there.
No.
We call those is now I like Keystone, or honestly even like Coors Light. About like Dos Equis is about as far as I can get kind of down the spectrum generally, but we call those sacrifice beers because those are beers you can give away. Those are beers you can take one sip and spill. Those are beers you can just throw, and you feel like you're not. I mean, when you buy them by the case or the 30 rack, I mean, who gives a shit for 12 or 14 bucks? I mean, that's how much I pay for one beer sometimes. But yeah, I agree. I mean, having good quality beer like this, I mean, you can sit there and sip on it, basically like drinking wine or anything else. But I just love the complexity that you can have in all these different beers.
Yeah, I think people need to understand what floating the river in Texas means. If they knew what that is, they'd be like, yeah, I'm not going to fucking bring a barrel-aged Maui Brewing bottle to the... I mean, I don't know, some crazy motherfucker might, but...
I don't think they need to... I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. I mean, almost in any state, you go on the river, you wouldn't want to take shit that, you know, anything that's good. You also got to be careful about who you're sharing that shit with, dude. I've had some pretty badass barrel-aged beers that, like, you know, 1 o'clock in the morning, or depending on how the day, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm feeling pretty toasty, and there's a guy with me, and I'm like, hey, you like good beer? And he's like, yeah. And I pour it. Takes like one sip, and then he's like, it's not really my thing. And I'm just like, well,
motherfucker,
I'm about to drink the rest of your beer then. Give me that shit back. I don't give a damn. I'm going to drink it.
I mean, all my neighbors, except for one of them, you know, they think I'm just crazy, because when they think about beer, they think about an American light beer or a Mexican lager, you know, something that's good in the, you know, in the heat of the sun and the humidity down here, something to keep you hydrated, something you just keep pounding back, throw an 18 in the cooler and just keep on sipping it up. But when I think about beer, I think a totally different thing. I think about 3 or 4 to get me kind of where I want to be at, and I can call it a night, and it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't have that big of an impact on me. It also doesn't take that much time. So, you know, as a family man and all that has changed, so my priorities have changed as well. And so I'm a little bit less of the foreplay and a little bit more of the, you know, let's get straight to it.
Yeah, I call it, I don't know if I coined this phrase, but I'm a huge fan of what I call front loading, where when you got shit to do the next day, rather than just kind of easing into it, just get your drinks up front, enjoy what you're drinking, because you can get 3 or 4 in and really just front load, and then you can just coast with like a seltzer or water or whatever for the rest of the night. So that way 2 or 3 hours of drinking some damn good beer, and then you can dial it, you know, in theory, you can dial it way back and then still get to bed early and be ready to rock and roll the next day. So
you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Front loading.
Front loading.
Not for kids.
Please don't look it up on Urban Dictionary, because I'm sure it means something else that's way nastier and way more dastardly.
My guests have been accused of hijacking phrases that have been around for centuries and calling it their own, and I support that. I am Woodstock. We're here to stay. What's the next beer on the menu? I'm still sipping on this one. I'm just curious.
Yeah, the next one, I think we would go to the St. Arnold's Pumpkinator.
Ooh, tell us about the Pumpkinator.
Well, Pumpkinator's it's a seasonal beer, and it's a local brewery out of 5th Ward, Houston, Texas. So just north of I-10.
Aren't they the oldest in Texas?
Shiner.
Shiner's older?
They're apparently the oldest craft brewery in the United States.
Oh, really?
Craft brewery. I heard this in Denver. I heard this at the at one of our brewery tours. I went out with Sean. I can't remember the brewery, and I was for sure it was Shiner, and they said no, because Shiner produces and sells so much quantity, they have actually broken out of the craft beer zone, so they're no longer craft beer.
Yeah, that's something.
That was the only reason.
I've heard something similar about Sam Adams. Like, they claim they're craft beer, but I think you're right. It's about volume that you produce per beer, whatever it is, and they actually changed the laws or the rules around calling yourself a craft brewery based off of Sam Adams, because they wanted to keep that label because it was selling beer, it's good PR, but they weren't technically a craft beer maker at that time. In fact, we gotta...
No, let's get that. Maybe I talked out of turn. Maybe just oldest Texas craft brewery and not United States. So, but yeah, I did go to Shiner Brewery before. I've been there, and when you pull up to Shiner, Texas, I mean, it's just getting out there in the woods and then just pulling up to the actual brewery. You pull up to the structural buildings and the ambiance and the surrounding and the scenery that you pull up to. I mean, it's freaking beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
And you also know that all these buildings and all these places, they have been here for such a long time. You can just tell. It just has that feeling when you walk into the place. When you walk in the Shiner Brewery, you just feel that historic feeling. I don't know how to describe it, but you just feel it. You're like, wow, this, you're just impacted by it. It hit me off. Like, as soon as I got out of my car, it hit me.
Yep.
So I go up there. I go to the guest where you sign in at. I sign in, Joe, Houston, Texas, or whatever. And just being, as I'm scrolling through, just on my same page, I'm seeing Germany, Mexico City, and all these places on Shiner Brewery. So that just tells you right there, like, the outreach of what this community really is of craft beer hunters, man, and people that really appreciate a good beer and putting that quality in.
So they really appreciate a good beer, and they went to Shiner, huh? Interesting.
Dude, people from all over the place love Shiner. I got a buddy in New Jersey that I told him I was from Texas. He's like, "Oh, have you ever had Shiner? That's my favorite beer." And I just had to laugh.
I mean, Shiner Bock's good, and they have a couple things that are good. I know a lot of people that like Shiner Light Blonde, and my wife really liked the Ruby Red Grapefruit when it came out for summertime. They have a few things that are good. I guess my complaint is that they've come out with so many different things, and a lot of them are not that good. That rather than the Shiner Bock, I assume, is still their biggest seller. And in that category, it's absolutely fantastic. Lord knows I've had more than a case or two of Shiner Bock before. But I got a little disillusioned because I started saying, oh, Shiner makes this. It's got to be good. They made a winter beer called Shiner Frost. And it's Frost with a little umlaut over the O, Shiner Frost. And it was like their winter beer. It was awful. I couldn't even drink a whole 6-pack, which that's saying something if a Russell won't drink a 6-pack of beer.
Like a Shiner, because like Shiner to me is, it's like Coors Light, Bud Light plus, it's got a different flavor. I like Bocks in general. I like dark beers. So if I'm going to have a lager, dark lager makes sense for me. And I wouldn't put Shiner in the same category as any of the beers that we're drinking today, because when you do craft, you can just, that's your thing. You focus on some crazy weird shit and you try to push the limits. But Shiner's definitely got an amazing history, to Joe's point. And when people from all over the place, before I ever moved to Texas, I'd had Shiner Bock before. It's just a great thing to put Texas on the map. But as far as craft beer goes, and especially being right here in Houston, because we got big old Houston fans here in this room right now, I'm a little bit of an implant, but through these guys, I actually know what screw is.
Yep.
In fact, we got a nice shirt. I wish we had video on now, because that's a badass shirt, man.
Yes, sir. Screwston. That is a nickname of Houston, also named Houston. Yeah, so there's a couple nicknames of Houston, but Screwston is dedicated to the originator, DJ Screw. He, of course, he did his own brand of music. He slowed everything down for everybody. It's actually a funny video that everybody can go YouTube, and it's like 1993, 1994, like the height of Snoop Dogg, Tupac, and Biggie. And there goes DJ Screw in New York City at the worldwide the worldwide DJ festival. All the DJs in the nation get together. He wins the deal, the competition. Yeah, he's sitting out in New York City, and he shows this ring, and he's like, I'm just trying to spread love, and I'm just trying to do my thing, and it was a beautiful thing. And honestly, it was a big movement here in the city, and it's something that me as a local kid, an inner city kid that I grew up as Houston, this was a big deal. Since I was a little kid, I can remember my uncle singing old songs that I was like, what the fuck are they singing? As a little kid, I was like, what the fuck is that? Sitting in the Harris County jail, just spending all my little time. And I was like, what the fuck? I don't even like that. I was like, this is terrible. But later on, teenager, hit a little puff of Mary Jane, and next thing you know, everything changed. I think the puff of Mary Jane, everything changed. I was just like, holy shit, what is this? And you had screw tapes back then, this will date me as an individual, but not only CDs, but you had cassette tapes.
Mm-hmm.
So you had your cassette tape, and if you had a DJ Screw tape, well then, or if you had your Walkman and you could put your cassette tape player, tape in there.
Yep.
Play it. You had your A, your B, but he would just pretty much get all the music that he liked around the world, whether that was East Coast or West Coast, and he would screw and chop it. And so there's a saying down here that if screwed in, screw it. You know, you want to get chopped up, you don't want to get slopped up, because there would be a lot of imitators, and you could only have that one that did it the right way. So
I love how much you love like everything about Houston, and that's why we gotta jump on this St. Arnold, because that's big. I mean, the oldest craft brewery in all of Texas, right here in the heart of Houston, and that spot, if you've never been to it, anyone, you got to go and check out St. Arnold's new spot.
Yeah.
They built that shit out. So, in fact, I think, Sean, you were the first one that put your eyes on it, that showed me a picture of it, and I immediately brought the fan from Victoria over, and we had a little get-together.
Well, and that's funny, too, because I got that from Joe, and I sent that to, like, Joe was the one that went there first and hit me up, and then I went, and I was like, I got to hit Jace up. And I remember you and I went, and I mean, that spot is just gorgeous out there. And I must say, as far as breweries go, St. Arnold, I mean, they haven't made a whole lot of stuff that I don't like. They make some styles that maybe aren't my styles, but I'm a big fan. I'm a pumpkin bitch, and I will get down on pumpkin beers and damn near pumpkin everything. Not a huge fan of pumpkin spice lattes, but if the season's right, I will get down on pumpkin. And their Pumpkinator and their barrel-aged Pumpkinators are, I mean, they're like top 5 pumpkin beers I've ever had before.
This Pumpkinator right here definitely packs a punch of spice, though.
Yeah, it does.
And that's so interesting, because I don't like any spice, any pepper in my beer.
Yeah. Not even like chili beers or anything like that?
You don't like chili beers?
One of the first beers that I ever tried was like a jalapeno beer from No Label out in Katy.
Yep.
And Katy, Texas, that's west of Houston. And I tried there, and I tried a few beers. I was like, man, this is good. Okay, let me try the jalapeno. Let me try the jalapeno beer. So I tried that. It ruined my taste buds. I was just like, oh my God, this smoky flavor of this stuff. It was just like, not my thing. So, you know, just like I found out that I got to stay in my lane for certain things. You know, I love the dark, the porter, the stouts, the barrel aged. Now I can do a little bit of double IPA and triple IPA. IPA by itself, Hefeweizens, you know, these other types of beers, I just can't do them no more. For me personally, that's not my thing.
It's funny because Hefs are the thing that got me into beer.
Right.
I did not enjoy beer at all, but we'd go to the bar in college and we'd get these badass burgers. $5, they'd give you a liter and a burger, and it was the best burger in town. So you imagine $5 for all of that. I was going to take the beer because why not? And the only one I actually could really enjoy was Hefeweizen. And now that I actually enjoy various types of beer, I don't know what it is. Like, it's a different type of beer. I'm not talking shit on Hefs because they have their place, but maybe it's the gateway beer.
Oh, I know for me, I don't really like a lot of Hefs have that kind of strong coriander flavor to them. And I agree, though. It's funny because I started on Hefeweizens too. That was the first thing I had in college.
Of course,
and
same.
We thought we were hot shit drinking this stuff, and it was good. But now, usually it's low ABV, but primarily it's that coriander flavor that a lot of them have. That's kind of like it's kind of light. It's not nearly as flavorful as hoppy and all that. But it's just, I am not a huge fan myself, to be honest. But it's funny, Joe, because I'm in the exact same boat as you. I've had thousands and thousands of beers, and I've yet to have a beer. So when it comes to like flavor, like pumpkin spice and shit like that, or peppermint, anything like that, I can get down on. But I absolutely cannot get down on chili or any kind of peppers in my beer. I've never had a beer that
the only one that likes spicy beer.
I can have a little bit, but I feel like
I'm not going to drink a 6-pack.
I can't even drink a pint, man. Usually just a little sipski's about like a little bit. And I'm like, oh, that's good. But I don't even want a pint or a 10-ounce pour just because I like spicy food. I like spices and everything else. But when it comes to my beer, I don't like pepper in my beer. And maybe I'll continue to try them. But I've had probably 15 and still never liked it.
I think I put them in the same category as sours. I'm not going to sit there and drink a whole pint, but I can enjoy. I know you're giving me that look because there are some good sours that even I enjoy, but man, 1 in 10 maybe? Like, it's got to be a damn good sour before I enjoy it. Even Martin House, which has made our lovely mistress Colombiana, even most of their sours, I don't know, I just can't get behind.
So most of the sours that I've had from them, I was just buying them because I was such a fanatic You know, early on, I was just like, everything they put out is top notch. It's the best. They're putting out 6 hours in a row. Might as well buy them, support them, because I love what they're doing. Love the movement. So let me go and support them with my dollar bill. So let's do that. So I'll buy them. But honestly, they've sat in my fridge for a year and a half, and I can't get through them. Dude, there's some of them that are so tart. I gotta pass them to the Chuckster. I gotta pass them to the most sour motherfucker that I know, Chucky. That's Sean's older brother, and you know he'll run through them. So I'll load him up with a 6-pack of sours every time he comes over. I just give him a random 6-pack just so you know feels good. But yeah, I can't get through them. They just sit there, and I've learned my lesson. You know, supporting them and getting the sours in there. Now I know that I've gone through so many sours that I know what I'm looking for now. When Martin House does a cut of a lactose, or they'll add a little bit of lactose to it, that to me personally that tends to ease the edge off of the sour and doesn't make it so bitter and so just pucker. You know what I mean? Just make your face pucker. So that's a big key. ABV, of course, is always going to be ruling king for me. So if it's worth the bang for buck, then that makes sense on that. And then finally, you know, if it's barrel aged sour, in my opinion, everything that I've had that's barrel aged sour, which is not much, but what I've had has always been good. So just letting it sit in a barrel, let it age, and just let it kind of mellow out and not be so freaking aggressive, then yeah, it tends to be really good. Well,
and you're right. I mean, I think the barrel age, just like the lactose, it helps just calm it down a little bit, kind of smooth the edges. You know, I like sours a lot, but one of my biggest complaints is you go to the grocery store, the liquor store to buy them, and they're the same price as high ABV stouts, and they're 5%. I mean, and it's because it's a very, and I mean, this is my own perception, but it's a very eclectic group of people that are, you know, that like beer like we do, but particularly sours have their own following of people that, you know, that it's so unique and complex, or this wild fermentation where they let the wild yeast, basically they don't add yeast into the brew, they just let whatever wild yeast go in there and create these different random flavors, and they end up having a low ABV beer, which is fine, but then they also want to charge you, you know, $16 for a 6-pack or whatever, which, I mean, price point has to come in there. I mean, kind of on a side tangent, but we saw that stout at the liquor store earlier today that was 17% ABV. A 4-pack was $43. It might be delicious.
Who made that?
That was a Dogfish Head, which they always think really highly of the beer, and their beer is really good. I mean, the 90-minute IPA is a damn good IPA. A fail
with them, like Martin House will have a lot of fails. Dogfish Head does not.
It's great, but I don't care how good that beer. What I'm afraid is it'll be one of the best beers I've ever had. And now I'm buying $42 4-packs, and I'll be quickly divorced after that. So
you say that, but you always buy Avery beers. You're going to pay $10 for a beer at Avery multiple times. I'm certain of it.
It's so my standard when it comes to really, really good beers, and from what I've seen in a brewery, at the liquor store, anything, is the most that I ever generally want to pay is $1 per ounce. And Avery, their gold label beers are $12.99, and that's the single beers like the one that we have inside, and it basically ends up being $1 per ounce. If it's ever more than that,
yet you don't want to pay $10 per. You get a bottle for it's a 12-ounce bottle, right?
Yeah.
So it's like $10 per bottle for the one that was the 4-pack for $40, and it was 17%. I'm just saying that follows your rule.
That does follow my rule. I guess at that point, it's a hard pill to swallow because I haven't tried it yet. At least with Avery, I can spend $12.
You're committing to 40 at once.
Now I'm committing to $42 worth, and it's probably really good. But if it's not, it better be freaking fantastic. Otherwise, I got 3 that I'm gonna have to work on.
Would you pay that much for? I'm holding up the Colombiana right now. How much would you pay for a can of Colombiana if it was the last one on the face of the planet?
Well, I mean, that's a huge. The last
How many
one.
blowjobs would you do?
I mean, 37.
37
at once. At once.
Wait, $37 or blowjobs?
Blowjobs.
An odd number of blowjobs.
We're still drinking on this Maui, and we've gone through. We talked about St. Arnold briefly, and we haven't even poured that yet.
Let's do it.
Are we?
That's up next.
Let's clear our cup, Sean.
We'll go ahead and do the Pumpkinator.
Yep.
I think we need to bring the Avery in here as well, though.
You think so?
I believe they need to join the conversation for sure.
I mean, they're one of the top breweries in Colorado as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
so there's no reason for them to be left behind. So I'm thinking that we may sneak that behind Colombiana,
ooh,
Marianne's Pie. So excuse me, fellas, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Tell me everything you know about St. Arnold Brewery, Sean.
Well, I know that St. Arnold is the patron saint of craft beer. I know that they have a couple of locations. They're all right next to each other, but badass vibe. Personally, the beer garden I think is really cool, but I actually like the older spot, which I don't know if you were there, but it's upstairs in the brewery, and it's just got the long wooden tables, and then the bars and the merchandise kind of around the side. And then they have murals that they've painted, all of Houston figures. It's all Houston. It's not, I don't know if it's quite as Houston as Eighth Wonder Brewing, but it's just all like
different kind of Houston.
Yeah, different kind of Houston. But I mean, there's all these murals all around up there. And I've always really liked the community feel when you're up there, because in essence, there's only 4 tables, but it's just a bunch of long lines of picnic tables that they've all kind of put next to each other. So, as you know, my dream would be, having you and all your best buddies all together, big long table, everybody with big mugs, big steins, drinking beer, singing songs, laughing, slapping each other's back, and that kind of sense of community, which I feel like you can get at St. Arnold's. Generally, there's a lot of kids that don't like when I slap their backs, though, especially because I don't know them. But it's a pretty nice place, man.
Yeah, it's funny. Breweries are amazing for everyone, and because of that, people like you who don't have kids and people like me who do have kids can actually go somewhere and get fucked up together and still be in our elements.
Very true.
But if you don't have kids, you're like, why are all these kids at a brewery?
Yeah.
You're like, well, it's because there's alcoholics who have kids too.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and and it's funny because I talked to a buddy of mine, and he was actually on our first B.A.E, and he's talking about like, I can't believe that parents, even though he's not a parent, that parents would bring their kids to a brewery. And I'm sitting there like looking around, and almost, I mean, granted, I haven't been to all of them, but almost every brewery I've ever been to, I can't think of one that is the exception. They're generally very family, kid-friendly places. They usually have lots of space. They usually have a place for kids to run around. A lot of them have outdoor patios. They're usually dog-friendly, particularly in Colorado. And with few exceptions, most breweries generally run daylight-ish hours, which sometimes pisses me off when I want to go to a brewery at 9 o'clock at night, because most of the ones I've come around, and there's a few that have full bars and that cater towards the nightlife, but most breweries that I've seen, they run till 8, maybe 9 o'clock at night, and down here in Houston, it's even crazier because in Colorado I get spoiled because breweries are open 7 days a week. There's not a lot of breweries at least in the Houston area or the Austin area that are open 7 days a week. I mean,
that's weird, right?
In Colorado,
it's not enough people wanting to go, or
I don't know. Probably.
I guess Joe would be able to speak to that when you go, because you hit breweries like across all of Houston, like during the day while you're traveling for work. Are they usually busy when you're going? Like, we're wondering why they don't open 7 days a week. Is it just I'm already getting slurry? Ooh, we shouldn't have. Maybe we just leave it to 3 ounces per beer, because if we finish I can't even remember the name of a fucking bomber.
Pumpkinator.
If we finish a bomber that's what is this, 13 or no? This is less. Is it 10 or?
That's like a good 16 ounces at least.
Ooh, baby, what is Pumpkinator? Does it not say on here?
Oh, ABV wise?
Yeah.
Oh shit, I don't know.
All right, we're pouring up the Pumpkinator. All right, you guys take over.
Okay.
I don't know how to talk.
Bump it up.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not really sure why. I mean, I think Colorado's just started before the craft scene started before Texas, and Texas has blown up and made fantastic beer. But I assume that maybe the lifestyle's a little different, and they need time for production. Man. They need time for production, and there's probably a lot of places that I visit in Colorado don't do major scale production. Like, I mean, a lot of these breweries are just like exploding and just sending it all over the state,
Well, Colorado is let's support the mom and pop at all costs.
Right.
Like farm to table, very hipster, progressive, however you want to call it. And so they're willing to throw a shitload of money at these small places that are craft style things, whether it's beer, whether it's knitting, I don't know. And so I think it's only more recently that people in Houston or across the whole fucking world now, really, there's a huge craft beer scene everywhere. They're starting to realize, hey, this stuff has a value that we didn't give it, because they just thought beer was beer. Beer was Budweiser. And if you think Milwaukee's Best is the best it can get, you're probably not going to go pay $10 for a 6-ounce pour.
Yeah.
But when you recognize what you're getting, and on the alcohol content side, if you really understand ABV and it really does make sense on a price point. But what you're really paying for is what you were describing earlier, which St. Arnold's with the new spot did a great job. You have an ambiance that, I don't know, it kind of feels like old neighborhood. You can go and play and the sun's going down and the kids are playing, like a giant Jenga, and they've got cornhole flying and people are laughing. It's almost like you're at a tailgate, but you're in a safe space that has some really badass beer.
It's basically like a micro community where everybody's there for the same thing and they all like the beer.
And the respect level is off the charts. No one's ever getting in fist fights like at an actual bar. No. And it really is a place that you can actually be a community and everyone's just kind of on the same page.
Not unless you like Peyton Manning.
Shit, I was wondering if you're going to bring that up.
But back to the hours deal. So,
well, you can't just bring that up and not give a little insight. Nah, we'll leave that.
Yeah,
no, you don't have to.
We'll leave that for the after hours.
Wait,
episode.
what brewery was that, by the way?
I think it was
that was at Loveland Ale Works.
Loveland. So one of the B.A.Es, we're gonna have to track down some Loveland Ale Works and
go to the Elks Club.
All right.
On the next B.A.E.
Hey, cheers real quick on this, the Pumpkinator. I'm super stoked.
Here's to the patron saint of getting buzzed.
Very spice heavy.
Nothing
spicy.
against Shipyard.
Right? Yeah.
We're drinking on a Shipyard. What's the
Smash Pumpkin?
Smash Pumpkin, which Shipyard's regular pumpkin is one of the better large market, large production pumpkins,
Pumpkinhead.
in my opinion. Pumpkinhead. Smash Pumpkin, even better. This kicks both of their asses, in my opinion.
Oh, there's a lot more depth in the flavor, but you're also looking at 11.2 versus, and the Smashed is 9, but you also have a pumpkin ale that it has hints of pumpkin, and then you have an Imperial Pumpkin Stout that's smacking you right in the face, and I agree wholeheartedly. But just look at the color difference between the two. They're not even on the same spectrum.
You cannot see through one, and the other one just kind of makes you look jaundiced.
Right. So but I agree. This is a better beer. The Smashed is good, maybe for when it's a little bit warmer outside, but this Pumpkinator is on point.
So I was going to St. Arnold's back before they exploded up and added that outdoor area. And they had, long German halls, just long German tables.
That's what I was telling Jace.
That whole scenario.
That's still open, isn't it?
Yeah, that inside area is still open, but very rarely will people visit it unless they're doing a tour or something.
I've never been. So the first time I've ever been to St. Arnold was after they did the renovation, when you all said, hey, this place is insane. I checked it out. I've been there twice, and both times when you park and you start walking towards it, especially if you go at sunset, you see this amazing skyline of what is Houston, and then you see the beer garden right in front of it with this amazing backdrop. There's a water fountain, this cool water feature. There's artwork everywhere. This huge open patio area.
When the Stros are playing, because they're always playing in October and it's great weather. Astros are always going into the playoffs lately, and they'll pull a big screen out where that waterfall's at, and people would just go out there and watch game night. They'll have the game out there, and it's just a big party. So it's a lot of fun. But what I was going to say about St. Arnold's is that Pumpkinator was one of the first things that drew me to it. I got to say that was one of the few beers that I was just like, okay, this is something that I could get behind for sure. The other stuff, even the Santos, they made a Santos they discontinued. It was supposed to be this dark black ale. I'm not sure exactly what it was, and it was cool branding, but it was about 5.5, 6. It was really not cutting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was something that you could sip on, maybe start off with, but it just at the end of the day, it's there's a reason why it went away, it hasn't come back. So
Yeah, I don't know if ABV is holding me back from trying more beers though. Like I naturally will go towards the darker beers, which just happen to be a higher ABV. But then if I have to make a choice between two beers and I'm not sure which one, I'm always gonna go ABV over non-ABV. And I don't know. It just seems to be that, and maybe it's just because the barrel age typically raises the ABV as well. And
Always.
barrel age just tastes amazing. So maybe
I think you're right, Jace. At the same time, though, I mean, you also got to look at dollars spent, and there's so much out there. There's so many different things that if you decide you want to do wheat beers, or you want to do sours, or you want to do lagers. I got a friend that pretty much exclusively drinks lagers and likes to try all the lagers at places, which kudos for him. But for me, a couple bucks more, higher ABV, plus I like the complexity, and maybe it's I've trained myself to do it, but there's no doubt I'm missing out on some stuff that's out there. But if I'm at a brewery in particular, I mean, you know, you can very quickly spend some serious money, and at that point it's like, okay, well, if I'm only going to have a couple, then, you know, I need to be in somewhat of the wheelhouse. And, you know, a saying from the fourth member of B.A.E. is, if it ain't 8, it ain't great, and if it's above 9, it's just fine. But that's when you don't know any better. And so, you know, if nothing else, it's nice to be able to go, for me, because you can walk in and have almost too many choices at some of these breweries. So for me, it's really nice to be like, okay, unless for whatever reason I'm in an IPA or a light beer mood, the first thing I'm going to do is look for dark beers. Generally, dark beers have higher ABVs besides these, you know, 4.8% milk stouts and shit that's out there. And so let me look there, and then let me see if there's something between a Dubel or a stout, or a Tripel. Yep.
When you get to the quads, then you're talking funky stuff.
Yeah.
I'm really into that funky stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, when we were shopping today for barrel aged, I saw a barrel aged quad that I was really tempted to get, but we were such on a dark motor oil with all the other stuff. I kind of wanted to keep it in the same wheelhouse. Yeah. Boys.
And
Cheers, guys.
So I it definitely cuts a few things out, but at the same time, I mean, for me, it makes it very easy, particularly because not always, but like when we did our B.A.E. tour, or when I'm like putting together like a little trip, it's usually like I want to try to hit like 4 or 5 spots. And if that's the case, then I'm not going to do more than a beer or 2 at each place, because otherwise I'm not going to make it to the last couple ones. So I'd rather know right in, like, okay, let me find a place that's got some damn good beer and that has the stuff I want. And if I'm going to go out, because I try not to go out too much, so if I'm going to go out, I'm going to spend $6 for an IPA or $10 for a barrel-aged stout. I'll spend the $4 extra and get a little, a 10-ounce snifter and be just fine while people are plowing through their 16-ounce lagers, you know?
Mm-hmm. Great
Real
points.
Quick, the top for the Pumpkinator. Texas sign on the top. So the branding of the Pumpkinator on the cap, it has the Texas, the outline. On the inside, it says "Make beer, not war." And I feel like in a time like right now, we need to just really appreciate this and just be spreading love and peace. You know, there's a lot of division in this world, man, and we're all humans at the end of the day. So I just love that.
Fuck yeah.
Sex, drugs, and screw.
Sex. Oh, wait, I thought that is sex. Oh, that other screw.
You? Oh.
Yeah, gotcha.
Screw zoo.
Double entendre right there. Man, this is real good. I'm going to stick to 3 ounces on this, and then maybe a little bit more. Maybe that's not 3 ounces. He's got a pint glass. I got a little 3-ounce snifter, and he's like, I'm good. Thanks,
Well, it's funny when we were talking about who's got the glass. And Joe's like, oh, yeah, I brought my own glass. And I was like, okay, we brought some too. Joe's glass is a pint glass.
Well, the glass I brought, I have to say, at least, it's a DJ Screw glass from Eighth Wonder.
Yep.
There's a local artist named Donkey Boy, and he does such amazing work, man. And I just have to give a shout out to him. I know Donkey Boy's listening, and, we love you. We support you. H-Town artist, man. And he's done murals for, Selena, Vanessa Guillen, the veteran that was murdered as well.
Yep.
George Floyd, I mean, so he's political as well, but he's local. So he's done this awesome thing down in Eighth Wonder. You guys got to go see it. It's a maybe 4 by 4 feet, big old portrait of DJ Screw's face. And as you approach it, approach this portrait, as you get closer, you realize that all the paint, they're all just screws. The entire portrait are actual screws that were drilled into this piece of portrait or wall or board or whatever you want to call, and they're all screws. So the entire screw piece of DJ Screw is screws. So when you get close to it, you're just seeing screws, and it's one of my cherished treasures. I mean, just beautiful.
Yep. Hell yeah. Yeah.
It's fucking art.
Yeah, I know. Eighth Wonder is not represented right now, and to be honest,
for a reason.
Yeah, most of their beer is not that great. They got a couple of good beers, but as far as, especially until St. Arnold's built their big patio, as far as like ambiance for me, I always love going to Eighth Wonder because you talk about a place that's Houston through and through. I mean, they got seats from the Astrodome in there.
The eighth wonder of the world.
Yeah.
What was it? The Astrodome.
Yep.
That was nicknamed the Astrodome. And
yep.
It's Houston to the core. So for a Houston fanatic like me, it was a place I had to go.
Yeah.
It naturally drew me in. It drew me in. It's where, I mean, a lot of special things happened. I mean, a lot of late and great friends of ours and very close brothers of ours. We spent so many moments there with, mediocre beers, but it didn't matter. It was the scenery, the Houston scenery, the skyline, and just that big ass backyard. I mean, you could do so much there. Dogs are playing fucking frisbee, and you're playing, all kinds of disc golf or whatever the hell it is. And I mean, it was just fun. It's just a cool bar. They have great DJs. I got to see some Southside legends there play live.
Yeah, I know.
Little Kiki.
Very jealous.
Southside, the guy that sings Southside, I'm sure, just Google it, YouTube it if you guys don't know. But Little Kiki, Southside, I got to see him play. Big Pokey. These are SUC legends. What does SUC stand for? Screwed Up Click. Or Soldiers United. But anyways, it's just a beautiful thing, man. I mean,
like it might mean two different things. Or is it like
it was dual meanings. It was Screwed Up Click and then Soldiers United by Cash. So DJ Screw didn't care where you came from. Back in those days in the 90s, there was we never had Crips and Bloods and all that crazy stuff from California and New York. But the biggest problem that Houston had was the I-10 freeway. The I-10 freeway would cut the city in half, north versus south.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the Bloody Nickel, the 5th Ward where St. Arnold's is at. You couldn't go there if you were a, 2nd Ward or 3rd Ward kid from U of H. You couldn't go there.
Like the wards are just how they break up the city?
The wards, right. And so that was a big deal, like, way before my time. I was originally from 2nd and 3rd Ward. So I'm a Southside kid. So Southside was, I just kind of knew it. You don't even go up there. You know what I mean? You don't even think about that. You don't have no family up there. You have no business up there. You have nothing to do up there. Like it was just kind of known, hereditary thing. But that's where
St. Arnold is right now?
Right.
So, like, I guess over the years, did it get, like, gentrified or just things calmed down?
It's been gentrified, but it definitely still, warning label, if you guys go see St. Arnold's, you do want to, hide your personal belongings. They have great, security.
I never got that feel, though.
Really?
I didn't, no.
You must have come in from a different side.
It's in the Bloody Nickel. It's called 5th Ward for sure. And it's a predominantly black neighborhood, and it's a gang-infested neighborhood. It's a gang-infested area. So
still to this day?
Oh, yeah.
Still to this day, but they have done a good job of kind of weeding that out. They definitely have a lot of security, a lot of presence there. So they do a good job there of making sure that those businesses survive and do well. So that's what I appreciate about HPD, Houston Police Department. They do a good job of standing up for what the fuck's right. You know what I mean? You can protest, you can do your things, but you also need to just respect and obey the law as well, though. Do it within, within the lines. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that. Shout out to my boy Mendez, HPD Sergeant. You know, great guy, neighborhood guy, and he's gone out there to try to protect and serve the people. And he's a great guy, and you know, he gets called all kinds of names, and that's something that needs to change in this country. Unfortunately, is the respect for these people that are just like us, dude. They're our same age. They played ball, you know, they played baseball or football, whatever they played before. Now they chose a different profession. They're law enforcement. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we need to have a little more respect for that. You know what I mean? That's my personal thing. I'm sure that's off the B.A.E. tour, but
no, I mean, like, I think there may be some cops that have issues, but you got to remember that doesn't make all cops bad. We gotta know our cops that we're in our beat. You know, if they're in your neighborhood, get to know them, and if they're assholes, then fuck them. But most of them are pretty good guys,
for sure.
What the fuck do I know?
Dude, I just recently got my car stolen in Colorado, and I worked with the Inglewood Police Department. Inglewood, which when I was staying in Inglewood, I was like, I feel like there's another Inglewood, and it's not the one in Denver. This is the one I'm thinking of.
I stayed in Inglewood in California.
That's the one. That's the
I will not tell that story.
That's the scary Inglewood. So, all the police officers I dealt with from Inglewood were fantastic. Pretty attractive blonde one too. Never hurts.
Oh hey.
Yeah, he worked out.
So one thing before, because we're still working on St. Arnold, I want to talk a little bit more about Houston, but beer related, just to keep this in the vein of B.A.E. I don't mind talking about shit we're passionate about, because that's what this whole entire show's about. If you haven't listened to any of my other shows and all you listen to are the B.A.E., it's we talk about whatever the fuck we want to, as long as we actually give a shit about it and we're passionate. But one thing that I know all of us are passionate about is Eighth Wonder's ambiance, its locale, what they care about. They support a ton of artwork in the local communities, respect the culture and the history. But I'll just say their beer just sucks. I mean, it doesn't suck. Some of them you can get through the whole pint.
So Jace, let me tell you this: from the last time that you were there to the time that they were to the time right now, their beer selection, it still sucks. But what they did is they put all the sucky beers all together, all out at the same time. So they don't make you wait till October or November to give you some more suck-ass beers. They just put them out there all together. So you got some more choices.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's stick to the love side of this. We'd love to hang out there more. Like, if they had beer of... I'll just throw one out that we've done the B.A.E. series with 903. If 903's beer was made, or the similar style and quality, but made by Eighth Wonder, you'd never leave that fucking place, right?
Well, let me say one thing. Definitely yes, but I'll also go back to my personal belief of why I believe, Colorado is the mecca of craft beer. And that is because of H2O, water. So your water source has so much to do with your end product of what you're brewing and what you're doing. So down here in the Buffalo Bayou and in Houston, we're such a polluted city. We make so much money. There's so much business. Everyone's working. You want to work, you're gonna go to work. You can work here, and people can live the American dream. But with that comes sacrifices. And before these policies and everything was put in place, what was happening with all these businesses was some backdoor shit. They were just illegally dumping hazardous waste, whatever was happening. Well, that went and saturated into the environment, into the water, and now our water sources, all of our rivers and all our whatever, it's contaminated. So what does that happen? What happens next? You have to filter. You have to do proper filtration to get to a point so that you can brew. My personal belief is that all the processes that you have to get to a point where you can finally brew is such a longer process than what you do from the Rocky Mountains. You know what I mean? When you getting it from the top of a mountain and it's coming down and there's just not that much crap in the way, there's less things you have to do to the water to alter it to get it to ready for brew process. So then it actually comes out in the taste of the beer.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the main reasons why I believe 903 is one of the ones that sticks out. I mean, head over shoulders on a lot of folks, is because they're on private water well. They're on private water, and he told us that story on that earlier episode of how he saved so many people, and he never lost water, and he gave hospitals and retirement homes and schools water. He kegged the water.
Yep.
So, dude, for
He
me,
used some really expensive cans to do that too. What
Yep.
did he say? Like one of those huge pallets cost? It was insane.
It was.
It's like a good chunk of the cost of what the beer actually is.
Oh yeah.
there was a can shortage, but yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean, the
to your
guy's a great
point,
guy.
like, so you don't
guy's a
think
great guy.
Houston, because of the water source, they have a chance of getting better beer? Because
I just can't see I can't see 903 sitting
What is
there.
What is a Houston brewery that if they traded their beer with Eighth Wonder, would you always be going to Eighth Wonder?
Which is another,
St. Arnold's,
which is
Saloon
another
Door, Ingenious.
yeah.
Like where we talking?
I would need a genius like the guy down at Saloon Door for me
Saloon Door.
personally. Yeah, the guy down at Saloon Door, that genius. If I had him at mass scale, doing all his experiments and doing all his wacky stuff
At Eighth Wonder.
at Eighth Wonder, then yeah, I would. I mean, there would be no reason for me to go 15 minutes down to Webster from where I live at personally, or just to go 19 or 20 minutes up into town and be in the city, be in the mix, because the creativity is there.
I wonder if we could get to know the brewmasters of each one and have them do collaborations. Help what they're. I mean, if we think that the beer at Eighth Wonder is trash, but we just love the place, we love everything about that except for the beer. Maybe let's try to do something about it. Like, I don't know if the brewmaster would take any advice, but I mean, I'm just saying, man, it's no one likes it.
Let me draw one comparison: the Houston Texans, another dumpster fire. Yep. So
we're not making any friends here.
so that franchise has, we've been earning for a football franchise in this city. We're such a football state. Friday Night Lights. This is the deal that we're about. So you get the Texans back in Houston, you can't do no wrong. Bill O'Brien gives you mediocrity for so many years. Let's give him another promotion. Let's give him another job. So, whatever. The owner doesn't care because the ticket sales are there, the season ticket sales are there, and the jersey sales are there. So the pocketbooks are getting fat. So at Eighth Wonder, they got the location, they got the scenery, they got the back door, they got everything there.
Mm-hmm.
The beer sucks, but it's selling because people are there.
They could sell Budweiser,
so why
and
would
they'd
they
probably
change
do just
anything?
as well. Yeah.
Why would they change if their pockets are still getting fat?
Maybe they don't know. Maybe they need to step up to the plate. Maybe it's a pride thing, or maybe not. Maybe they just don't give a shit and they're not going to change anything.
I don't see themselves humbling themselves. They just can't do it.
When they have a drink called Haterade, you want to like that.
My girl likes that. This was funny.
Does she really?
She loves.
It's not terrible. It's not like I'll
stuff.
throw away the pint, but it's not something I'm going to seek out.
No, the Dream Shake is pretty badass.
Okay, that's true.
The Dream Shake's pretty good, and
Dream Shake's a solid 8.
Shout out on Lajuan. Yep.
What's their coffee?
The Vietnamese, the Rocket Fuel.
Rocket Fuel. Rocket Fuel's not bad.
If they could raise the ABV like 2% on that, that'd be great.
Yeah.
From like a 4.2, 4.5 to like
Tell
a 6.5.
them to buy some barrels. Boom, done.
Yeah.
It's
They
fixed.
did a barrel aged Rocket Fuel, and that was good.
Did
So
you-
it got
you
it
did
up
try
to
it?
about. I did try that. That was really delicious.
I'd definitely buy that.
That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say. You need to go back there because I think they are trying. I think they're reading kind of what's going on. They're still selling a lot, but they're keeping their eyes on the competition, and they are pulling out some barrel age all of a sudden, just very randomly. Like, this is weird. You know what I'm saying? I would have never saw this.
Yeah, they have every part of the equation except for just what the whole entire purpose of that business is being a brewery, right?
I don't know. I mean, it
I
is a
guess
brewery.
they're getting that's more of a locale. It's a place to go, and they did a great job on the expansion. Like, I was kind of nervous because it was this like small, homey. Like, it had that feel. It had all the chairs sitting around from the Astrodome, and when they did the expansion, the first time I walked in there, I wanted to hate it because I'm like, man, They just completely changed everything I know. And it'd been a while since I'd been back, and I had such an amazing time that first time. But I think they did a pretty good job with that outdoor back area and getting them.
There's also real quick the Honeydew Bell. What is it? The Premium Goods.
Premium Goods.
So Premium Goods is another one. I have to say that's
Okay.
pretty solid. But 2 out of 15 or 20 beers.
Yeah.
That you would say that I would drink that. Now, the funny enough though, that's our taste buds. Everyone's different. So what is it to say that the person that lives downtown or getting off of work, they don't want a 8 or 10% beer. They want a 4.5. They want to socialize. They want to still be able to go home and work out or be functional or act like they never went and got a beer. You know, who's to know what the priority is there? Because I'll tell you what, when I take my wife there, she enjoys the beers way more than I do.
Well, shit.
So maybe the women are just fucking feeling it. If the women are feeling it and they're getting frisky,
Well,
I mean, shit, who can complain?
that's true.
I'm sold.
If
All
the
right,
cat's-
Hate to Wonder.
if the cat's
Everything I
purring-
said, I apologize.
Ow!
Yeah, yeah, but at the same time, fuck that, all right? This is B.A.E, and I guarantee you there's a lot of people that like to drink the way we like to drink, and you know what? Yeah, you're right, but what the fuck? Here's my complaint is, first of all, 4 or 5 beer, what's the fucking point? I mean, or someone's, and maybe it's true, somebody just wants to come and just drink, 1 beer, but at the same time, I never, just the way that I am, want to drink 1 beer. And if I do drink 1 beer, then I want it to be a 10 or 11% beer so I can feel kind of good. Because from a caloric perspective, 4.5, I'm 240 pounds. I ain't going to feel shit. So I'm just drinking calories for no reason. Or I'm going to get another beer. So I never understood the concept of, I just want to have 1 beer at lunch and then I'm good. And it's just like, I'm either going to have no beer or I'm going to have a few beers. If I'm having a few beers, I want to drink some good shit. To Joe's credit, if the girls like it and the girls are feeling frisky, yeah, I'll go. That's fine.
I'm sold. So, Maui, I'm going to have to say, if we're going to do a comparison, which I think we should, my boys don't know you. I had a fantastic time there. It was gorgeous. And although I'm very impressed that they're doing barrel-aged stuff, and I did very much enjoy it, I'm surprised by saying this. I really think I'd put the Pumpkinator slightly above the Maui Milk Stout. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, the flavors very, very different. I mean, the creme brulee that was great. That was sweet. That was a really nice dessert beer. That's a beer that I could see after I've, had a few and then, have something to kind of just sip on and take your time on it. I'm also, as I said, a pumpkin bitch. So I've had the Pumpkinator before and I still would drink the Pumpkinator. So, given the choice and the accessibility too, from what I understand, you can't even get that beer if you're not in Hawaii.
I think they're done. Maybe they restarted it, but when I was there, they wouldn't give me a pour. Like they didn't have any.
And didn't they don't even distribute they didn't even distribute that to the lower 48, right?
The only way you can get the beer that we drank here was pretty much flying it to Texas, driving it to Colorado, driving it around Colorado for a while, driving it down to Texas, and giving it to our boys.
So we actually aged it a little bit more after you got it.
You're welcome.
Aged it, took it through a few time zones, put about 4,000 miles, 5,000 miles underneath it. Yeah.
So maybe we just wore it out a little bit. So Joe, what I was asking him is that as we progress, we're going to go Maui to Pumpkinator. Where would you rate them on a just overall scale?
I love pumpkin beers, but I gotta say that I really enjoyed the Maui.
So
Personally,
the Maui's slightly above or quite a bit.
Like Sean said, it's just totally different things. So it's very hard to try to compare one to the other because they're not in the same category, in my opinion. But the Maui, I would say just because the rarity, the creamy, soft tone, easy to drink, very smooth. Just player. That's a player ass beer right there. That's very delicious, very rare, and I think I feel very special to be able to have a chance to sip that beer.
Yeah.
And I think that's, just all that involved into that, I would definitely choose that over Pumpkinator on those, even though it's not a fair comparison. But that's that. If you had me choose, I would choose the Maui.
Well, that's the whole point. Yeah, I mean,
So, if it comes straight down to everything that you just said, Joe, 100%, it's the Maui Brewing. I guess the reason I would even consider the Pumpkinator to be slightly above is pumpkin beer is just so freaking hard to do. Like 9 out of 10, maybe even more pumpkin beers I have, I'm just like, okay, this is okay and or just awful. And this one just does it. So I think it's more of like the difficulty level. This has the higher possible points, and they are kind of the pinnacle of the pumpkin. But fuck it, who gives a shit about pumpkin? Maui, you're on top right now.
I mean, Jace, I agree with everything you said, though. I think that pumpkin beer is nothing to fuck around with, though.
I was just surprised. I guess going in, my expectation always skews everything, and my expectation, because of the mystique around it and the journey that it had, and I was so fucking honored that you saved that to be in our B.A.E, man. Like it had a long story around it.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I
that.
mean, I think that it only made sense to drink it with people that deserve to be drank with. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I saved it for that right opportunity to pull it out. That's how I am with the beer fridge that I have. So, people look at that beer fridge and they like, why don't you just tap into this, and this? And I'm just like,
No, you don't touch that shit.
No,
you don't know what you're getting yourself
that
into.
shelf right there, that's kind of like, there's only a few folks that I'd probably want to, that would appreciate that just as much as I would. You know what I mean? And there's a guy that he's definitely doing his homework, and he's after some of the same stuff I'm after now. And so I'm trying to slowly let him in a little bit on stuff, and and I will. But I mean, as far as the originator, as far as the original B.A.E crew, it's it's only going to be that one crew. So we can always have additions, but you have to really appreciate what's happening here. And in that Maui, it didn't pop. I do agree with you. It didn't pop, like it just didn't like come off the charts right at you. But I think that's also part of the beauty of it, is the fact that it just was so subtle, so creamy, so relaxed, so calm, so smooth, just that it'll creep up on you.
You just described Maui.
I was gonna say, damn, Joe, you're making my pants tight over here, dude. Creamy and smooth and relaxed. Maui Brewing. Welcome to Maui Brewing.
Okay.
We got through our Hawaii. We got through our Texas, or Houston specific. Do we want to go? Do you think the Avery's cold enough, or do we want to jump to?
I think we should go to
our main girl assassin. Joe, you are the only one that can tell us about Colombiana.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to be said about this beer, but I can only say partial. Everyone will add, their preference or what their viewpoint is on this, but I got to give it up to Sean first and foremost. Sean was the first, the catalyst that got me going to that direction of stouts, porters, that type of beer, that thought of process, that thinking of it. I'm just wondering, I'm like, how's this going to work with 100-degree weather? Well, it worked just fine. I don't have a fucking problem. I will spark the Weber. I'll spark the smoker. I got the brisket going. I don't give a fuck. And a barrel-aged beer is going down, or a good stout, a good porter, 1 or 2 or 3 or 8, So,
that's funny too, Joe, because I remember, man, you were, I started getting kind of in the craft scene, and you always schooled me on tequila, but you were like Dos Equis. I mean, I think it was primarily like Modelo, Dos Equis, like, which still have their place. And I remember, like, not only did I start talking to you about craft beer and we started drinking a couple, and now you've just blown me out of the fucking water. When it comes to like searching out the right stuff and finding, I mean, you're the one that brought this one to the table. I mean, yeah, I may have set you on the path, but arguably one of the best beers I've ever had.
Yeah, I mean, I don't take any credit for this. This is the credit for Fort Worth, Martin House, the great guys up there. I mean, we planned a whole trip around these guys. We wanted to go see them in Fort Worth. Unfortunately, COVID did its whole weird thing. We didn't have the proper experience. We didn't find any of this But once in a blue moon or once in an eclipse, every 626 years, this Colombiana comes out. So if you're listening to this, you're fucked. You will never live to see this beer again. And we're going to drink like a lot of it. So
How many did you pick up?
Okay, so I pretty much worked at different areas around town, and what I do is I'll just call around random HEBs and I'll just ask, hey, you guys got the Martin House barrel age? And they'll be like, okay, which one are you talking about? Well, the rum barrel. Oh, the rum barrel.
So you don't ask for Colombiana because that
never,
gets
never
confusing.
mention her by name.
You don't want people to know.
Never mention her by name. Let them say the name.
Let
them say the name, and you'll have better success rate. When you start saying Colombiana to the people on the phone, they're like, "What the fuck are you?" They start talking to you.
They think you're looking for some Colombian broad,
right? Or some coffee or some shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I never noticed this. So the thing about Martin House that I think has been tried by a lot of breweries, but I would say Martin House does at a next level. They've partnered with artists. One artist. And I hope that artist knows their worth, because they will do a large mural for every beer they have. And Martin House, they're different. They're not the typical brewery. They're going to be a very small batch, and they, kind of like Ingenious in the Houston area, they're going to push the limits farther than they should.
Yep.
And because of that, you're going to have a lot of Martin House beers that you're going to spit out. You're just gonna.
You remember that hot wing?
The one we poured out the window, and it just...
Yeah, it tasted like chicken hot wings. And the thing is it tasted like chicken hot wings.
It really did.
But it turns out I don't want a beer that tastes like chicken hot wings. That's what you get for being hungover after 3 days of B.A.E. and being like, and I remember I had the 4-pack in my hand. I'm like, I'm going to get this. And you look at me.
Cool branding, though.
Yeah, it's good. The branding's great. And then I'm like, Jace, I'm going to get this. And you look at me, you're like, are you sure? And the guy looks at me and he's like, you can buy a single. And I was like, let me buy a single.
And that's the hero we all need.
Yeah, you and I drank 2 sips of that stuff. It was awful. But to your point, Jace, they make a lot of different beers, and some of them aren't good. But when the freaking hammer hits the nail, holy crap.
Okay, and then before all this as well, it has to be Death by Coconut. So Death by Coconut was a whole cult in itself. Sean started it amongst his own friends. So Death by Coconut was his own deal, and he got everybody on this coconut trip.
Oscar Blues,
amazing. Death by Coconut, and that shit's fucking amazing. And when we asked 903 at the brewery, like, what are your favorite breweries? And he was Oscar Blues, Avery, those were his favorite breweries. And so that's why I go back to
immediately. Yeah,
that's why I go back to like Denver still, or Colorado still the, it's still the tits. So, but when we saw the description of this Colombiana, rum barrel aged stout with cherries and coconut. So let me break that down. Rum barrel aged, rum's gonna be a lot different than tequila. Rum's gonna be a lot different than whiskey and rye and whatever the fuck else. So, back to Sean, the originator, man. I mean, honestly, I believe that he's led us down a path of, led me down a path of finding the most, some of the best beers I've ever had in my life, and this is one of them. This is, if you have the opportunity to taste this, I feel like you should feel lucky, because they don't make much of it. Now, if you live in Fort Worth, then yeah, you have no reason for your ass to just go drive down there and go get you a beer. But if you don't live in Fort Worth, you should feel lucky that you're gonna have this beer. I mean, this beer is fucking delicious. I mean, it's amazing. The coconuts and the cherries just shine through. So, just exactly the description of what they say they're gonna do, they deliver. It's no hiding behind nothing. It's true to their statement.
So I'm gonna give a little quick description from the can, and then you guys may want to talk a little bit about the artwork or what they have on there. But as I pour this up, it's 13% ABV. This Imperial Stout was brewed with sweet cherry puree and flake coconut, aged 4 to 5 months in rum barrels. It was brewed on June 18th, 2021, so 5 months ago, and it is just dropped. I believe it was purchased within the last
week.
Yeah, so a week. So I'm about to crack this, and while I pour up, you guys take over.
So the last week, I've been on like a madman, just searching around HEBs because I know they carry it. Finding out, where you guys are hiding at. I feel a little German. I'm not gonna lie, and Colombiana's my little. Never mind. So, yeah, man, I've been searching it out, and I'm not gonna lie.
Clear our glasses with a little water out of respect.
If I see a few, I'm gonna load them up, grab them, add to my collection. I still have 2020 or 2019.
2020.
So like Sean was saying,
I'm gonna love to compare the 2020 and the 2021.
Yeah, the 2020 was, in my opinion, the best beer I've ever had in my life, and it was after I'd had some real heavy hitters, and I was done with beer. I did not want another beer. I was gone, and this was handed to me, and I had low expectations because it said cherry. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm not down for cherry beers. I've tried them a lot, and I can't. Can you name another cherry beer can you name another cherry beer?
Yeah, there's one out of Odell Brewing called Freak. Friek.
I'll trust Odell.
Yeah, Odell knows their business. And,
we got to get some Odell and some New Belgium in here.
Yeah, it's a cherry sour. It's not super sour, but it's like...
Well, sours don't count. Fuck sours.
Okay.
As far as cherry beer.
Well,
he's talking cherry stout, I guess, or cherry...
Oh,
have you ever seen cherry?
903 makes a chocolate cherry stout.
Oh, actually, I have had that one.
I know. I was there with you. We were drinking it.
Yeah. Okay, so I take that back. This is aged in... so we aged Colombiana, like Sean was saying, for 4.5 months in Colombian rum barrels. I didn't know it was a Colombian barrel.
No.
And that's why it's called Colombiana.
Also,
it's 13% beer that has the traditional characteristics of a stout.
Just real quick, guys, 13%, but drinks like a 8.5, 9.
Yep.
I mean, at most.
It's
really light.
Yeah.
Well, it says this beer's 100% unblended, meaning every drop you taste is uncut and straight from the barrel.
This is the first of 2021. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, gentlemen.
I think that silence speaks volumes.
You can taste the flake coconut very heavily. I mean, it tastes almost like German chocolate cake. I mean, you can taste the coconut in there.
Definitely getting the cherry at the end. The cherry just definitely whip around the backside.
So, Joe, you have arguably had more Colombiana than any of us here.
Oh, no, not arguably. Hands down.
Do you have any of the 2020 left?
Definitely.
When's the most recently you had some of the 2020? Enough to be able to tell us if you can tell the difference right now?
Well, I will tell you one thing. I mean, just definitely the crispness, just how crisp it is and how much it pops off the tongue. I think that's a big one for sure, right off the bat. And I don't know how much that had to do just with age and it just coming out the can or what it is carbonation-wise, but the flavor profile actually is very simple. I mean, it's identical. It just doesn't pop. It doesn't have that quick one pop.
Yep.
It's very I wouldn't say a flat soda, you know what I mean, compared to this, but it's it definitely doesn't have that pop that this has. This has like a brand new taste, like just a brand new thing you just opened up and
yeah.
I mean,
in all fairness, what I seek out in a porter or stout is typically if I actually feel bubbles on my tongue, it's kind of a turnoff to me. And maybe I'm just unique in that, but this does have a little bit of a carbonation pop, like you're saying that the other one didn't. I would say I like the 20 because it's more of a motor oil, as they say.
But here's the question, though: is it the batch or how long was it? I mean, the last one you and I drank was in July, and it was from November in the previous year. So I aged it another 7 months in the refrigerator.
And we're talking 13%. So normally you're not going to be aging anything in a freaking can, but with something that high ABV, it truly does have a beneficial aging to it, even if it's not in a barrel, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, this one was brewed on June 18th. So, I mean, 5 months ago it was brewed, which means it was canned here we go. It's canned on the 2nd of November.
Wow.
Oh shit! This
Wow.
month.
Yeah, 2nd of November. So
That's a little too fresh, dude.
Yeah, so
It's like biting into like a very crisp and tasteful apple. Just
yeah,
it's got that bite to
It's
it
almost
that you don't normally have with this Colombiana. I'm not gonna lie, the 2020 definitely has such a much more mellow, smooth, just overall just great great punch together. So,
yeah. Because I mean, it's absolutely delicious. But I definitely have equated a lot of my Martin House stuff, not all of it, but a lot of it, with that real smooth. But it's usually because I hold on to it for 5 months before I ever crack into it. You know?
now drink a little bit into it. I think first drink off the water was a little something, and then drink a little bit into it, Jace, and I think it starts changing for me already. So just 2 sips, 3 sips into it, I'm already tasting a little bit of a mellow down.
I've heard too that it's it's a lot like wine too. You got to get 3 sips into it before you ever even like taste the full profile. And it has apparently it has the tails, nose, and heads and shit going across the glass just like wine.
That's exactly what I was about to say. You copy your same.
Same.
There's something about a beer when you're smelling it before you drink it. You don't do that with a fucking Coors Yellow Belly.
No. And shout out though, love Coors Yellow Belly.
Everybody loves a banquet beer.
Yep.
I'm trying to. Why did I not just type in Martin House? There we go. There was a description because the artwork here, going back to it, is unparalleled in my opinion. There's a lot of beers who have great artwork, not knocking on the clown shoes and the 903s of the world, but I've never personally had that's just the storytelling behind the pictures. And one thing about it that it was originally a turnoff. I'm like, why do they do these boxes? That's a ripoff. It's 2 cans. But then I read their description of why they do it this way, mixed with the artwork. And let me just read this right here. It says, more beer than a bomber. Historically, most barrel-aged beers you'll find are available in a glass bottle format called a bomber. While a bomber might look fancy, it offers very little advantage when compared to cans. Cans are easily portable, more recyclable, and also block out harmful light rays, which actually has some truth to it. Most importantly, you'll get 2 extra ounces in this box than you would in a traditional bomber, as this box contains 2 12-ounce cans. So enjoy one now and give another to a friend. We recommend cellaring all beers refrigerated. Drink up and cheers to the future of barrel-aged beers. So when you're going through the store, you're going to see something that doesn't look like a beer. And here again, I should have done video on this one, but we got a box which happens to be 4-sided, but 3 sides are just pure artwork. And man, you just look up Colombiana online.
Beautiful.
It has, don't they have like little stories behind it?
Oh, yeah.
On the ground in the artwork, like it's looking like it's written in blood by her foot. It says, it's really hard to read. It says, and when the devil spoke, she leaned a little closer.
Ooh.
You ever noticed that right there?
You know, what's funny too, Joe, is I just recently, actually a week ago today, I drank one of the last Girl Scouts, which is interesting because the same woman that's on the cover of this is featured on that. And I thought it was very, very interesting because, as you know, the last Girl Scout used to be called the Cookie Monster. And in the description, they talk about, not very veiled very well, basically the copyright infringement. That they got into I assume a lawsuit with Sesame Street, so they changed it. But they talk about how this woman killed the Cookie Monster and then wears one of his eyes around her neck, and she also has the same tattoo as Colombiana. And whether it's an iteration of the same girl, like this whole the whole story.
Also, a little bit to add to that is what I heard was it's actually a different woman who's a Girl Scout.
Yeah.
But that now she's joined forces with the Colombiana.
It's a whole narrative behind the beer.
Now there's a whole group, like I guess a Charlie's Angels kind of thing. A couple girls, and they're all killers.
I love that for fucking beer.
Yeah,
it's a whole narrative of like, oh, okay, that's very interesting.
That's what I'm looking up online right now, trying to find where that was posted. Was it Instagram or what was it?
What?
I found it on Instagram.
Okay.
I read it on the box.
Oh, on the other box.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it was
The
on the it
The
was
last
on
Girl
the,
Scout talks about it. Yeah.
I was looking for some backstory in the Colombiana.
Maybe find the last Girl Scout box, and it should say the description on there.
Oh, I found it. According to the Surgeon General, women should not drink. Oh, that's not it.
All right, boys. So we've had 3 beers today.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Well,
so far.
Well, that we've talked about on the show. We've got like other beers pouring left and right. We might be a little sloppy. I think we all know where we're going to go with this. We got, although a very strong last place, we got Pumpkinator. Maui Brewing, sitting right on top of that. Where would you all place Colombiana?
I mean, it's going to be at the top as far as I'm concerned. I'm actually going to go Columbiana, St. Arnold, and then Maui Brewing. Because
I like to bring one to the competition.
Oh!
Enter a
late
new
entrance.
competitor.
It's called Marianne's Pie. It's out of Avery.
Which Avery, if you're unfamiliar with it, you just have to respect them. They just have done the fact that you have a single 12-ounce pour in the middle of Texas, and they were the first ones to charge an insane amount for a single bottle.
Yep.
And I caught myself paying them, and every time I'm like, damn, that's a good beer.
You're never let down. You know, I went to their original location probably 6 years ago, and just a little, I mean, it was like a shack with a bar that's not much bigger than this studio, kind of U-shaped. And they had really good beer. I mean, so the White Rascals and things like that, which I don't generally like coriander, but I do like White Rascal, I thought was amazing. And they were talking about this facility that they were building just outside of Boulder up in Gun Barrel, that they opened up like a year and a half later. And, if you're ever in the area, they have a self-guided walking beer tour with catwalks up above all of the different brewing activities. They have a badass swag shop. They have a fantastic selection of their beer. So a lot of it you can only get in-house. Quick side tangent. They make a Christmas stout called Sandy Claus that they also put in gold foil. That's 14% peppermint stout. That's out of this world fantastic. But they do lots of really cool, crazy stuff. They're Martin House-esque in that they make a lot of different beers with a lot of different iterations. Most of them are really, really good, and it's just the facility is just gorgeous. And what's really cool, I just found out recently, similar to Left Hand and Longmont, is they collaborate with smaller breweries that are trying to ramp up but don't have the capacity, and they allow other breweries to come in and actually can and bottle on their assembly line to be able to up their ability to meet distribution demands, which is really cool because the facility is just huge. But they're all about trying to support the other local microbrews that are trying to come up and let them use their facilities. I'm sure there's I'm sure there's money changing hands, but still to be able to not try to edge out the competition but foster more beer is just, I mean, we need more breweries and less payday loan places. So
and definitely, I mean, if you guys remember, 903 hired their brewmaster from Avery.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that they're doing down in 903 in Sherman, Texas, it's about an hour north of Fort Worth, Dallas area, is they're copycatting it, but they're doing badass shit, man. I mean, why not do it? So,
well, what's not a copycat, right? Everyone's standing on the shoulders of giants, and like Sean said, they foster a feast mentality instead of the famine mentality that's riddled with the downsides of some of capitalism. We can actually live in a place where we foster just good quality, hard fucking work and talent. And the brew scene was one of the first industries where I saw that, the ability to make a product, be proud of that product, and then not be scared to say, oh, our neighbors next door, they got some good shit too, you should try them out. And I was actually very surprised at that. And you see that kind of peaking up in different small little industries as well. And it's usually those industries where you meet the people that work at these places. They're not making hand over fist. The people that are running the place day in, day out, they just care. They give a shit about that product. And it shows that they just want a good product to get out to the people. It's artwork to a point, right? And so the fact that Avery's letting these smaller guys use the facilities is just a testament to that.
Yeah, and a quick shout out to first place I ever saw that was Left Hand Brewing. They've been around for a long time. They're also, you can find Left Hand Milk Stout, as far as I know, in every corner of the country. And while I'm not necessarily a huge fan of a lot of their beers, they have a nice ambiance. They have generally really good people that work there. But one of the coolest things I ever saw was a small upstart brewery called, of course I can't think of the name right now, Bootstrap Brewing. And Bootstrap went to a beer event, and Left Hand provided them with all of like coasters to give, or coasters and koozies and sunshades and stuff like that. And Left Hand gives back to the local art community. They host fundraising events. They do all this stuff. Left Hand. I mean, there's probably 8 or 9 big breweries in Colorado that I can think of off the top of my head that are nationwide. And Left Hand and Oscar Blues are 2 of them out of Longmont. And the impact that Left Hand has on the local community, the brewing community and beyond, is just fantastic. Just to get to see what they do, particularly for this conversation, the fact that they said, hey, we like what Bootstrap's doing. We want to lend them assets. We want to lend them resources. We want to foster them. And now Bootstrap makes one of the best IPAs that's coming out of Colorado. Is just fan. And Bootstrap's got a second location. They're blowing up, and now Bootstrap's paying it forward to the next small brewery, which eventually the market is going to be saturated. But as far as I'm concerned, there's still not enough, because I think there's room. As long as they can make good beer and find a way to make money doing it, then there's a lot of opportunity to continue to grow.
Yeah, well, people are going to find out very quickly that they can drink a mass-produced beer that's solid and okay, or they can start taking risks, and they're going to spend some money on some shit beer. But when you find this gold, like, and this Colombiana, we were talking about how last rendition may or may not have been slightly better, but I'm sitting here like finishing this off, and I wouldn't let myself just down it. I took a little sip and savored, and took a little sip and savored. So Martin House, fucking keep doing whatever you're doing. I don't care if I have to have a chicken wing beer every once in a while, but stop doing that shit.
Well, we should just stop buying it.
You can go too far, but who knows? Maybe it could have ended up great. I mean, man.
That's the thing, though. You just keep trying making stuff, and just for the hell of it. That's the creativity. You just keep making shit, and some of it tastes spot on, and it did taste like a chicken wing. Turns out I don't want a chicken wing beer, but
just gross.
Yeah,
it's just gross.
Anyways, let's hit the fourth sneaker. Joe, tell us about this guy.
We got an Imperial milk stout aged in bourbon barrels.
Oh yeah.
With toasted coconut and key lime.
Ooh.
14.5.
Ow! That's sweet pie.
Marianne's sweet pie.
Joe, I told you to not drink too much. So what we got here is exactly what I said. It's, let me see here, number 60 in our barrel aged series. Let me pour y'all up some. Hey, get a little water in yours. You don't want to mix that. You want to get it fresh.
So I have not had this one. I have no freaking clue what it's going to taste like. But
what if it beats Colombia's ass?
That would be pretty awesome.
I hope that happens.
I'm looking for the next
Avery could do it easily.
Yeah,
14.5 against 13.
Well, the fact that we trust
there.
Avery enough to put this as an after Colombiana, that means a lot. I'm just gonna drink that water. Water just to clear out the glass.
Ooh, boy.
I want to get this just a little bit, get the little drops in there so we're not watering down our berries.
That has a very strong key lime smell. Haven't even tasted it yet, but I just had to smell it. Because I know where there's a bunch of this sitting, and I'm thinking about when I get back to Colorado, how many more of these I'm going to get to hold on to. So give that
I guess we all get 4 ounces there.
Yep.
Yeah, my poker table's going to get stained.
Okay.
You'd be surprised how much beer's been spilled on this thing. It
looks pretty
blends up
good.
pretty good. Yeah.
Was it B.A.E? Because barrel aged everything.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this thing gets super stained by the end of this.
Cheers,
'cause
boys.
That means we win.
Let's see what Avery's
Salud.
working with here.
Avery, salud. That is the weirdest motherfucking thing. Holy shit. I don't hate it.
I don't think it beats Colombiana though.
It does not. That key lime comes
That
with
lime.
a vengeance.
That's
Yeah,
super
that
key
lime's
lime.
super weird.
That is super key lime.
I'm not down for that.
I'm
Hey.
glad we're splitting it.
3 sips, guys. 3 sips.
Okay.
That Colombiana, that first one, we were not prepared.
That's true.
Let's give it a tribute to everyone's favorite castaway and her famous coconut pies. Set sail on a 3-hour tour through coconut, key lime, and bourbon barrels.
Marianne's got some of that sour puss.
Phrasing.
Let's try it again.
Half as
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Bad.
I mean, it is what it says it is.
Maybe 3
That is
there.
a fucking key lime pie.
A key lime pie stout.
Imperial milk stout aged in bourbon barrels with toasted coconut and key lime. Man, Avery, I think you did this beer as well as you possibly could have.
Yep.
Don't do key lime pie anymore.
I love key lime pie. It's just,
But-
man, it's just a weird taste.
Well, it's such a I don't know, it's sour. I don't know.
I don't
as a
think key
stout,
lime
maybe.
pie and stout,
No.
I think, go together. I think coconuts, cherries,
Yeah.
marshmallows,
Yep.
stuff like
Things
that.
that mix with chocolate. You don't have a key lime chocolate pie.
Now, see, I beg to differ
Wait,
because
what?
my favorite pie, key lime pie that Allison makes, it's key lime pie with an Oreo cookie crust.
Who's Allison?
I don't know. my wife.
She's Marianne's.
Here's the thing: you crush the Oreos, and then you use a little bit of butter and Oreos. You crush it.
Wait, that's
into-
what we ate, right?
That's what we made.
That was key lime.
That was key lime pie.
Granted, we were a little intoxicated when we did that.
Yeah, but that's like one of my favorites. So
That was actually pretty hilarious. You're like, Jace, I'm going to use you right now. I'm like, wait, bro. I'm like, what? And you're like, no, I want to eat some dessert. Let's go eat this dessert. And I'm going to use you as an excuse not to get yelled at by my wife.
Little
I'm like,
did-
okay.
little did you know that was just the beginning of me using you.
But can it be both?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not mad at this, man. I really think that it is, I mean, it's in line with what Avery did, but we were talking about different breweries that take risks. They kind of push the envelope, but this is one where I could legit drink that whole entire beer. It's not that I dislike it. We drank
it's
it
hard
after
to follow.
Colombiana.
Yeah, it's hard
Yeah.
to follow Colombiana.
Yeah.
I think that's what ruined it. I think if we would have put Marianne's pie a little bit before, might have had a chance, but just being after it, I'm not a big fan of it.
It's very unique. I've never tasted something like that. I mean, at least in a beer. I mean, maybe it tastes like that key lime pie, but it tastes like key lime heavily.
Yeah,
but
very heavy.
I can say for 14.5%, it drinks pretty well.
You know what? I just forgot that. 14.5%. This does not taste like 14.5%.
So I'm getting more flavors than just the key lime.
Yep.
I'm getting a little bit more going on there, and I'm not a fan of it. I don't know.
You
what
actually like it
is.
less
Yeah,
because you're
I
tasting
don't-
something on the back end.
I just don't know what it is, but I'm just not a fan of it.
Yeah.
I can taste almost like, I don't even want to say what I taste.
All right, so Colombiana,
Ass.
you did what we thought you were going to do.
Big booty ass.
Maui, close second. Props to Maui
kidding,
Brewing
guys.
Company. We got a little pumpkinator action, and then Marianne, sorry, you are lost at sea.
Yeah, I must say I wasn't really sure how things were going to go, and we're across the spectrum on this thing. A creme brulee stout, a pumpkin stout, a rum coconut cherry stout, and a key lime pie stout. That's all over the fucking place, man. Very cool. No, like traditional Russian
I
stouts.
can see second and third are switching easily.
Yeah.
I mean, really easily. I mean, it's just thing that's so different.
Yeah.
They're so different. So it just depends on who's judging, really.
that's a very eclectic group of beer because any single one of them alone, it would be like the centerpiece of a night for me, and to have 4 of them just bam, 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 bam after each other's, that's pretty amazing. Looking at them all lined up right here.
Do you know what's crazy, though? I'm looking at it. I'm just looking at geography right now. Number 1 and a close number 2, 3. 2 of those are from Texas. Then we have Hawaii out in the middle of bumfuck Egypt. And then surprisingly, our Colorado beer that we brought in last second, because we respect the label, they did end up being last. But that beer's ended up last in I mean, this is a fucking heavy hitter lineup.
Yeah, it's a murder's row for sure. It's like Mike Tyson and shit going on right there. So, yeah.
Speaking of Mike Tyson, someone sent me an article and it said Mike Tyson died after taking psychedelics. And I'm like, holy
his old
shit.
personality.
And I clicked on that and it said, Mike Tyson quoted saying, yeah, it's like I died after I took some psychedelics. I'm like, that's not the same thing, man.
You wouldn't have clicked otherwise, though.
I'm like, hey, one of the listeners of my show, they heard me talking about DMT, and they're like, ooh, yeah, here's an article about DMT, and they sent it to me. But I just saw immediately Mike Tyson dies doing psychedelics, and I'm like, no, this can't be. No!
The first recorded overdose is Mike Tyson.
I'm like... correlation does not equal causation on this.
If Mike Tyson was across from you right now, how comfortable would you feel?
I'd hug that motherfucker and he'd hug me back. I believe
I feel
that.
like we'd just be drinking together.
Would you ask to see his dick?
Would you want to?
I mean, I don't know.
Is it barrel aged? Well, guys, I think that is a great time to end this show. I think we came here with a purpose and we knocked it out of the fucking park. We're drunk, so there's one thing. As always, it's amazing spending time with my boys.
Yep.
Hopefully people have learned a little bit about the debauchery that is alcohol. I always like to have a little bit of a Mr. Rogers moment in my shows, which is the, in case, 15-year-old comes across this and he starts to idolize Joe's rants about Houston. Use fucking responsibility. Don't drive drunk. Don't drink alcohol if you're not supposed to.
Uber, please, guys.
Kids, Uber. This show is for 21 and older.
And don't fuck with anybody from Houston.
And don't fuck with Fifth Ward, especially if you're from 2nd or 3rd.
Damn straight.
Thanks, everybody. We'll talk soon.
Let's go get drunk.
Hey everybody, the conversation is getting bigger and bigger, and I want to invite all of you to join in. There's a few ways to do it. You can go to iamwoodstock.com, that's iamwoodstock.com. There you'll find a contact form where you can input your email and contact me directly. You can also go to the I Am Woodstock Facebook page to leave comments and start a conversation with the entire iaW community. If you're a fan of pictures, check out the I Am Woodstock Instagram, where my wife is sharing some of the family adventures. If you're enjoying the show and want it to grow even more, go to the Good Stuff page on my website. There you'll find links to all of my sponsors, as well as a link directly to the I Am Woodstock Patreon, where you can become an official patron and allow me to be picky about the sponsors I choose. Thank you all for the support, and don't forget, this is all about starting real conversations. If you're driving in your car, call up a friend who you haven't seen in a while and discuss some of the topics you've come across on the show. Trust me, you will not regret it. See you next time.
We are Woodstock.
Woodstock.
You didn't tell me that
I'm gonna use
beforehand.
that one.